Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marcus Wade. I work within the Premier's Office of FinTech in Bermuda, and it is my pleasure to have a conversation today with Mr. Jeremy Allaire, the CEO of Circle. Hey, Jeremy, how you doing?
Great. Nice to see you, Marcus. Thanks for having me here.
And you as well, man. It really is a good opportunity to have a conversation with someone I see as being a leading thought leader in the space, man. I really do respect you giving us the time to have a conversation. And yeah,
Absolutely.
I'd like to start off by just giving everybody who's viewing it an opportunity to learn more about Circle. So would you mind just giving us an overview of what Circle does, the products and services, et cetera?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Circle is a company that I helped to found 8 years ago. So we have been building infrastructure and products and services in the cryptocurrency and digital asset space for a long time. And really the vision of the company when we founded it was that eventually blockchain technology would allow for money in the sense of dollars or pounds or euros, like what we think of as traditional money, to work kind of the same way that the rest of the internet works for content and information and data, which is sort of open, global, instant, free to transfer. And we really thought that that was going to become possible. And we also thought that the promise of blockchains, which was really this idea that not only could you have money represented as a kind of content on the internet, but it became programmable. And so you'd have the ability to really innovate in how not just financial services work, but just commerce more broadly. So that inspired the founding of the company, and we've been pursuing those ideas since then, and has really matured and grown as the technology in the space has evolved. So really now today we have kind of three pillars, and we operate entirely internet-based financial services. Everything is sort of from the ground up, built around the internet, around the use of the internet in finance. And the kind of core first pillar of that is something that's known as USD coin or USDC, which was one of the very first regulated dollar digital currencies in the world. We began work on that 4 years ago. We introduced it about 3 years ago, and it provides a way for people and businesses to kind of take traditional commercial bank electronic money, money in traditional bank accounts, and as I like to say, upload it to the internet and actually tokenize it or turn it into a digital currency format where you can then transact with those dollars basically instantly, globally at a very low cost. And so that's grown enormously. So USDC, we are the principal operator of the infrastructure of that. I think of it almost like a dollar standard for the internet. And that's grown from early 2020, around 400 million USDC in circulation, to now about 30 billion USDC in circulation, which has grown from just the start of this year was 4 billion. So it's growing at an incredible rate. And we envision hundreds of billions of dollars of this in circulation in the coming years, and becoming a really critical part of how money works on the internet. So that's one big piece. The second is what we describe externally as our transaction and treasury services. And these are really services that we provide to businesses to help them integrate digital currency transactions into their own payment applications, financial applications, commerce type applications. So it's a whole set of services, accounts and APIs that people can build with to integrate into what they do. The treasury services part of it is really about actually providing people ways to lend their digital currency in the form of USDC and earn an interest rate from it. There's a growing lending market around digital currency. And so we have a product, a treasury product, our yield service, which we'll maybe talk about more, which provides a way for businesses to, essentially put dollars into a lending account and earn, around 6% annualized interest rate, which is, very good. And then the third piece is a business called Seed Invest, which is a fundraising service. We basically help hundreds of startups to sell stock directly to investors on the internet and help those startups go from seed stage to growth stage. And it's a whole online platform to do that. We've literally helped hundreds of companies raise hundreds of millions of dollars. And this allows investors, not just what are called accredited investors, but unaccredited investors to also invest in startups right alongside, what VCs typically have been able to do. It really democratizes access to investing in startups to far more people.
It's incredible, man. I mean, it's so good to hear about all of the innovation this Circle is bringing to the industry. And I feel as though that's a big part of the reason why Circle chose to come to Bermuda. Would you mind maybe speaking to that for a few minutes? Like what values were within Bermuda's ecosystem that drew such an innovative company to come to our shores and, not just enjoy the beaches, but actually, contribute towards the ecosystem itself?
Absolutely. So I had the pleasure of meeting Premier David Burt at Davos in early 2019, in January of 2019. And he described to me what he was doing in terms of building a regulatory framework for digital asset businesses in Bermuda. Later that year, as we were thinking about different products and services that we wanted to build, one of the challenges for this industry is there's not regulatory clarity. And that makes it hard for people to know they want to be regulated. They want to have a clear way to really communicate to the market that these are safe and sound products that have good supervision. But in many cases, including in the United States, the regulators have been reluctant to do anything. So we saw the framework that Bermuda put forward was one of the most thoughtful frameworks that we've seen in the world. It really defined digital assets as a new type of financial instrument, which it is. It doesn't fit cleanly into all the legacy categories of financial instruments, and created a framework for that. Now, we had originally expected to launch an exchange business, which we had owned through Bermuda, which was a business we ended up selling, but less than a year later, came back to the island and wanted to work on launching a crypto lending product, as I described, this yield service. And our feeling was that Bermuda was really the perfect jurisdiction and country to build that in. There are not rules around yield services and crypto lending in most of the world. And Bermuda has a history of innovating and supervising risk management in financial products like the insurance industry, and then clearly getting into digital assets. And as we brought that product to market, we wanted to very clearly convey that this was a service that had a strong supervisor and that could be delivered internationally. And that really was attractive. And so we amended our license with the Bermuda Monetary Authority, worked closely with them to develop an appropriate supervisory framework on this. And earlier this year, introduced the product, and that's now growing. And we're now hiring our first people in Bermuda and investing because we believe it's going to be a very strong jurisdiction for the growth in other types of services that we might build, as well as this product, which we expect to grow very significantly in the coming years into billions of dollars of value lent out through this model.
It's so incredible that you spoke to like the reason beneath, like the rationale as to why Circle are here, like the capacity for Bermuda to move with the industry and to work with the industry and the regulators to find to establish the next best practices. It's really the hallmark of our success with our international business community. And I'm glad that value is translated and being seen by the industry. If you don't mind, would you mind going into the future plans of Circle in Bermuda? Because I understand with the growth of the yield products, that's a significant approach. That's a significant element of how Circle is going to move forward. But what else do you see coming insofar as helping the ecosystem develop? Because that's something that's huge to us here.
Yeah, so I mean, there are a number of things. I mean, I think the first is I think we're excited to be able to offer these services to Bermuda-based businesses. And so whether you're a startup that wants to build in the digital asset space, or you're an established business that wants to take advantage of the yields that are available through the digital asset markets, we're very excited to be working with Bermudian startups and businesses. Which really leads to a second piece, which is as we start to scale up this product, we're also scaling up our operations. And the company has grown significantly. We're hiring around the world. And now we're very proud to make Bermuda a talent center. And we very clearly see that there are a number of areas in compliance, in finance, in risk, in operations that I think can be a really strong place for Circle to build talent. And so as that business line grows, we see the kind of commensurate kind of growth in what we can do with people in Bermuda as well.
That's awesome, man. A few months ago, I believe it was, you announced that there would be a Circle pledge towards the ecosystem. And I'd love to have just a quick conversation about that, because I find it so fascinating that this is actually in alignment with something that's happened historically within our industry. Because let's say back in the 1990s, the insurance industry set up BFIS. I believe it's the Bermuda Foundation for Insurance Studies. And that effort is what led to me actually getting out to university. So I'd like to know about Circle's plans to contribute towards the ecosystem from an educational awareness adoption side of things.
Absolutely. So we made a pledge to initially invest $100,000 in education programs, specifically targeting learning about blockchain and crypto finance. And we see that this is obviously a mega trend. And I know there are a lot of talented young people as well as senior professionals that have worked in other parts of the financial services, insurance, and other sectors that would like to make a move into a space like this, but really need to engage and learn more. And so, that pledge is aimed at fostering that education and as an important building block, obviously, which hopefully benefits Circle, of course, because we want to hire people and the like. But we also see that there's an emerging ecosystem, as you say, that can be built in Bermuda, and we want to be able to support that as well.
I'm grateful to have an opportunity to speak about the future of Bermuda and our digital asset space with you, man. I think that it's coming close to our time for the end of this one, and I just want to thank everybody who is tuned into our conversation for listening in. And I hope that this conversation is not only insightful for those in the business world, but also for those in Bermuda looking to become engaged in the digital asset and fintech space. So without any further ado, I hope that all our visitors or listeners will join us for the next session, which will be hosted and moderated by Mrs. Sheila Warren. It is a panel discussing the transformation of value exchange. So with that being said, Jeremy, thanks for your time today, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. You're welcome, Marcus. Thanks for
All righty. Take care.
Cheers.